Got some more torches that Nitecore have sent in. First I'm going to be looking at the EDC25. There's some quite important changes with this compared to the EDC27 that I looked at last year. So I'll be covering that in a bit more detail later on in the review. I'm going to be doing the unboxing first, give you an idea of what we're looking at. All the extra items are on the underside. Very simple bundle with this one. We get the warranty card and the user manual. And they do supply a Type A to Type C charging cable. Wrist strap has an adjuster. It's sort of a paracord style one. The thick thread that you get there is to just help to loop it through the back of the clip. As you can see with the body design, it's very similar to the EDC27. It's very slightly longer, but it is lighter. For some reason they've put the controls marked on the body. I'll just give you a quick close-up on that. Maybe it's helpful if you haven't used it before, but I think it's fairly easy to pick up the UI on this torch. Instead of the OLED display, we have a series of LEDs. There's 4 for the battery and for the power levels. Half press will give you a quick battery check. It does stay on for around about 5 seconds. The OLED was nice on the 27, but I don't think it was a must-have. I'm perfectly okay with this. Quite a strong clip on the back. This is stainless steel and you have that hole there for the wrist strap. It's also possible to unbolt that and take it off. There's a few hex screws there. Switches are different from the 27. We have a power switch with 2 stages. That's the same, but the custom switch, the flat one, that is a single press for that, a single stage switch. The switches are much firmer compared to the 27. There's a big difference in terms of the feel. On the side there is a plastic cover which covers the Type C charging port. It does stay in place quite well. Haven't had any problems with that coming out by accident. Nitecore are using their own LEDs in this model, and instead of the optical lenses you typically see, what they've done is they've gone with some texturing on the reflectors. They also put a proximity sensor in there as well for a safety function. That's another improvement over the original version. If it's already on, it doesn't change the power level if an object goes in front of it, but that's good enough for me. That is quite useful. Quick comparison next to the EDC33. I'll be doing some beam shots with this and a separate review on that. You can see the appeal of these wedge style torches. They are quite slim. A lot of people like the profile, particularly for a pocket carry. Onto the UI now, pretty straightforward. Single press, full press for on and off. When it is on, you want to half press the power switch to cycle through the power levels. You do have a mode memory for that as well. If you want to get the momentary, you can push in and hold. A half press will take you to that lowest level. Pushing the custom button or the flat button, that will take you to the strobe or the turbo mode. It depends what you set it to. To cycle turbo strobe, just hold the custom switch and then quickly tap the power switch. For the lockout mode, when it's on, half press and hold the power switch to lock. Just hold it in for longer. That will take you to the full lock. So 1 flash for the half, 2 for the full. You have your countdown timer on the LEDs, and I've timed it around about 10 seconds. You've got a fairly short turbo on this model, which isn't particularly surprising. You can have a look through the manual. I've put that up on screen for you. I'm pretty happy with that UI overall. It's pretty straightforward. I'm also perfectly fine with the choice between turbo or strobe. Typically, I'm not going to be using the strobe on a model like this, so I probably would have it set to turbo. It's a cool white emitter, but it does tend to shift a bit on the green or yellow side. Quite fast charging speed, around about 1 hour and 15 or 20 minutes, and it also charges C to C as well. They've got a similar design to the 27. Obviously, we've aluminium on this instead of the stainless steel. Does feel slightly different to the 27. That was sort of thinner stainless steel with a powder coating. Quick power levels on the screen for you to have a look at, just to give you some idea of the run times. Onto the beam shots with the TH10R, which is a sort of standard one that I'm using. Mixed beam pattern on that. Over onto the EDC25 at the lower power levels, you can see there is quite an obvious difference in terms of the tint. Although when you increase the power levels, it isn't as obvious, so it's more of a thing that's going on at the lowest levels. Then you're up to your top turbo of 3000 lumens and you've got 10 seconds of fun before you drop down to the next level. If you keep hitting the turbo, as you would expect, it does get pretty hot to the point where it can be a little bit uncomfortable. Looking at the EDC33 quickly on the standard highest output 1200 lumens isn't a bad beam pattern on that. This has the new NiteLab LEDs with surrounding auxiliary LEDs, so we get different lighting effects from it. And there's your floodlight mode, 4000 lumens. This also gets pretty hot, so if you're looking for torches and you live in Alaska, you've got a couple of good hand warmers here. Done some more beam shots for you outside and longer distance ones as well. We've got a bit more range out of this model. Goes up to around about 300 meters, so that is an improvement over the 27. Have a look through those and I'll just give you my final summary once that's finished. Just a quick summary on the EDC25. Big improvement with the switches for me. That power switch doesn't stick up as much and it has much more resistance when you push it down. The same goes for the custom switch. Much harder to push that down than the previous one. It makes quite a big difference because I wasn't really that happy with the switches on the 27. It's way too easy to activate. You had to use the lockout. I'd still recommend you use the lockout with this for a bag, but you do have the proximity sensor as well, so those are notable improvements in my book. I like the fact the beam has more range and there are extended runtimes on some of the power levels compared to the 27. A couple of obvious downsides: there's no easy way to replace the battery, and I'm not a big fan of the tint, particularly at the lower power levels. It's definitely not my favourite. But those points aside, I think this is a nice improvement over the EDC27, and I honestly don't miss the OLED display at all. But as usual, I would also be interested to hear what your opinion is on this. If you've got the 27, you're happy with that, or would you take this over that version? And do stick around, I'll be looking at a few more models from Nitecore coming up over the next couple of weeks.